Good morning and welcome to Morning Coach. Today, I am so glad you're with us. Hey, it's JB. Super pumped you're here, ready to go. Episode 5764. It is July 21st, 2025, and we are ready to roll. Remember, morning's a great time to get started. Get up, take time for self-care. And listen, Coach Cass, you're here. You're doing that fantastic. Get organized, whether you're using a planner or systems, whatever you're doing. Get that perspective and those priorities in place. I don't care if it's on a whiteboard. I don't care if it's in our planner. I don't care if it's in Companion. I don't care whatever it is you're using. Get that priority in place and recognize, how do we do that? We get clear about our mission and our vision. What are we going to do? Who are we going to become? Okay, I got to tell you that over and over again because it just keeps changing. And as you get that clarity and you make subtle changes to it, you live a really amazing life. All right, so let's get those 7 P's in order this morning. And then, of course, if you get a chance, stop by the community. Love to see you over there. This week, what are we doing? Well, we're getting into communication. One of my favorite weeks, one of my favorite things to discuss. We're going to talk today about organization and story lists and why they're so important. Was talking a little bit about this with Will over in ILD when he was asking about his book a week ago. I did a video. If you get a chance to go watch that, more on the expertise side and also some ideas on building a list from of influencers and things you can do. A really good video. If you get a chance, watch that. It's extremely valuable. Literally, a lot of the experts I've worked with, they've implemented a couple of those techniques, and it's just blown them up. Okay, so if you get a chance, go over into ILD. I keep putting content up there. Make sure you check the news. Kyrie keeps sending emails out, letting you know what's going on, meetups, community, all those things. I know summer's for building, but we're building. We're doing a lot of work here and putting a lot of things together for you. So check that out when you get a chance. But today we're going to get into it a little bit more, and we're going to talk a little bit about organization and story lists. Not everybody is trying to build a business or build their expertise and leave a footprint, but this is something that can really help you today. Tomorrow, book study. Yes, I got hammered for this because we have done this book last year at the same time, The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, but I just found something in it that was so good, and I was like, I want to redo it again. So Marius, thank you so much for posting last week in there about, hey, didn't we do this last year? Yes, we did, but it is that good of book, and it's hard to find really good books on creativity and creation, especially from people that are actually doing it. That have built really successful lives, and obviously Rick Rubin has. So there's some really good things in there. We're going to talk about the creative flow that Rick Rubin talks about tomorrow. Wednesday, our deep day, we're going to talk about active listening as a metaphysical practice. What does that mean? Well, listening's a skill. Probably helped me more than anything. Really, when I started listening in business, I started to understand how I could really do the things I needed to do, get what I wanted, especially even dealing with medical professionals. Anybody you're dealing with, a lot of times our brain gets in the way. And if you can learn active listening skills, we'll talk about that, how it can better your life. If you can decipher what your significant other, your partner, your spouse is trying to tell you, instead of communicating and just getting into an argument, it's really a game changer. If you can start to really listen. And a lot of people, I'll tell them that's what we're seeking for is problems. You're looking and listening for what's going on with people, and you really step out there and help them, and you can hear them. It really is a very important practice. I told you, it's a big week. So active listening on Wednesday as a metaphysical practice. On Thursday, we've got an Ask JB, and we're going to talk a little bit about how do you get your word out? How do you communicate if you do want to get out there? It's an important day. Friday, prosperity and abundance, financial communication and timing. Who do you talk to and when? We're not a financial planner, don't play one here, but we'll discuss some of the ideas of financial communication, why you need to talk about it and when you don't need to talk about it, okay? Saturday, obviously, Dr. Paul is killing it with us on longevity, really loving his content on Saturdays. And then Sunday, time, silence, reflection. What's really going on? Can we find some silence and be able to connect to something really deeper? We're going to get into that on Sunday. So excited today to talk about communication and really stories. And we're going to discuss the importance of stories, and you'll hear me talk about that a lot. As we get into this, story is how most people learn. It's what people have learned for years. When I'm teaching, and if you get a chance to get an ILD, I spent a half an hour on a really nice book writing video. If you get a chance to watch that, again, for those of you that are an expertise, I mean, this is years of knowledge, and obviously not only mine, Dr. Dyer, Wayne Hayhouse, and Reed Tracy, some really valuable knowledge there that's just not public. I talk about story, and stories are really the critical component of teaching. If you have, if you can't tell a story, people can't relate. We have a thing, and you'll see it in the video, that we say, show, don't tell, right? So most people want to tell you what to do. Most people want to be the manager. They don't want to be the worker. Just is what it is. I mean, if you've been in any business for any amount of time, everybody wants to be the manager. And the reason they want to be the manager is so they can tell people what to do and they don't have to work. The truth is you have to work. I mean, at every level. It just is what it is. And really bad managers don't work. Just a little secret there. But same thing with teaching. If you're just telling people constantly what to do and not telling them stories, you're not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to relate. They're not going to be able to understand children. This is really important. We tend to tell them what to do instead of showing them. And this is really teaching how you should teach. Look at Jesus in the Bible and the best seller on the planet, right? The whole book is just story after story after story. So the idea or concept is we have to become great storytellers. You want to make a lot of money. You want to be able to influence other people. You need to start working into stories, okay? So when I first started Morning Coach, I realized I wasn't telling stories about my life, my challenges, my wins. But it wasn't until someone asked me to give a keynote speech that I froze, not because I didn't have stories, but because I didn't have them ready. Right. And so the key to me was, okay, I committed to building a story vault. And I still have this today. It's a list of stories tied to the core themes I speak about. And over time, that became one of the most powerful communication tools in my coaching and public speaking library. And having that ability to pull stories out allows me to speak and communicate about anything. I love systems. I just do. I've always been a systems person. You could have me go speak about elephants. And you give me enough time to research, I can put it into my formula. I talk about that in the book study video. I'm able to go out and do an hour keynote speech for $45,000, right? It's very simple for me. I can speak about anything. I don't need notes. I don't need a PowerPoint. And that's because I've built these systems. That's why, not everybody uses these things, but to the right person, it's so valuable. I've spent literally thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years in speaking and learning how to speak. When I was National Speaker Association, being a part of masterminds, traveling, learning, I'm giving that knowledge, right? So this is really important that if you want to get your word out, you want to be a great teacher, you want to be a leader, you want to be a great parent, you want to be a great grandparent, you want to be somebody in society that can really make a difference, and I don't know anybody that doesn't. Let's work on your stories. Very important, okay? I don't want you to underestimate it. Life is a series of small victories that you do that build up to become something that can influence you. That's why I always said, I always wanted to have gray hair. I still don't have it. I got a little bit on the left and right sides because I always thought wisdom was equated to gray hair, right? And so it's like, people will listen. And in my business, if you look at the people that are tremendously successful, there's very few fly in the night people that are motivational and coaches. It's typically people who've been doing this for years and years and years. And the reason is because we have to build wisdom and the stories and able to be able to tell those stories. Now, I always yell at God in the morning, please, no more. Like, I don't want to go through any trials and tribulations. I don't need any more stories. My vault is full. But learning that aspect of things, learning to be able to put out ideas and thoughts in vulnerability, but also with integrity is really critical. And understanding your audience and who you're speaking to is critical. So what I want you to think about is start by writing 5 to 10 stories from your life. Now, if you get a chance to go watch the video, it's on books. It says, let's talk about books. I talk about that's the foundation of a book. 10 stories is the foundation of a book. So think of some things for you, a challenge you overcame, a moment of insight, a time you failed, a breakthrough with a client, a funny human moment that taught you something. And then think about it. What is the theme? What is the lesson I could teach from this? Where would I use this? In coaching and content and public speaking and parenting and teaching and talking to a group of people at the local HOA. I mean, storytelling is the foundation of influence. If you can become good at this, I'm not going to say I'm good at it. I just keep my stories. You'll be able to engage and work with people. And I'm constantly, when I'm in the public, not as often as much. Many of you know I'm very introverted. We're closing things down. I'm somebody that's working with very few people now instead of the masses. It's just me. That's just me and the way that I work. That'll be a story one day, right? But when I am in the public, which is very rare, I got to speak to a mastermind in August. I've got to go up to Toronto. I got to go to Columbia. I got another big group I got to speak to. When I'm in those groups, I'm testing and feeling things out. And I'll actually test them out just talking to people, like 3-4 people. I'll tell a story. We'll work through it. And then I'm constantly taking notes about, is that influential or not? Okay, so really start looking at some stories. And again, it only starts with a few. I can do a keynote with my 4 key stories. I can do a keynote right now. I could jump up on stage and somebody says, hey, JB, we need an emergency. We need a speaker tomorrow. Can you come? Yeah, I can show up and do it. Okay, so understand these stories are so critical. So as we do this, let's think about your structuring of things. Do we have our mission and vision? Yes, we're moving forward. Do we have people helping us? Yes, we're here for you. Are we communicating? Yes, we're communicating, and now you're learning about stories. Are you committed to this? Are you committed to leveling up your life and doing the things that are going to make a difference out there? Yes. Then let's work on that, okay? So your journal prompt today is, what are 3 personal stories I can use, teach, lead, and inspire others this week? And then think about it. Write out a lesson or a principle each story represents. If you do that, that's the foundation of a story list. Now, everybody stores things different, second brain. Everybody does things differently. Jurgen is working on something with John. They're building a really nice system. I've built it into the companion. That's where I put my stuff. And also, I like spreadsheets. Okay, so I use Airtable or software database or Google Sheets. That's what I use. So I use that structure, and then I feed it to a dashboard, which we've built as the companion. That's what I use. Everybody uses something differently. Maybe you handwrite it, but keep a story list somewhere. That's what I'm going to suggest you do. Keep a story list. Create a Google Sheet. Whatever it is, wherever you like to keep things, start keeping stories because they will serve you. And be open to them. You could be driving today and see something happen and you can write a story about it. Stories are happening every minute all around us. In fact, I like to use relevant content. So when I'm speaking, I show up with a relevant story. I'm looking for things that are happening that are timely so I can bring that or introduce that into the speech. That's why people know it's just not a canned speech. They know I just don't do this. They're looking for information from me. Also, I'm a big person into questions. I ask you all the time, give me questions, because then I can pull out lessons and story. Now, I tell them what you tell them, tell them what you tell them, right? Tell them what you tell them. That's the speaking adage, and show them, not tell. But there are times when you have to get tactical, okay, where you got to show, like give you a technique. So I tell you stories of my book. In the video, for example, I talk about Get Out of Neutral. That was my first book. I talk about what happened. Now you're engaged. Okay, wow, this person knows what he's doing. He's self-published, he's published. Okay, then here is the tactical side. Now I've shown you, I've given you the information. Now here are the steps, right? 10 stories. Here's the power of 3s that I teach in that video. Then I give the techniques. But it's lead with story and then give the technique. It's really important. So understanding that as you get your stories in place, you can always bring technique in, okay? So really important. Steve Jobs, who passed away, says the most powerful person in the world is a storyteller. That's Steve Jobs. Think about that. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. Why is that? Because they can connect. They can really make people's lives better. So I want you to think about that and really be thinking about, okay, how can I build a story list? And don't be thinking, if you're getting imposter syndrome right now, I'm going to jump through whatever you're listening to and grab you and shake you. You have stories. You are a leader. If you're listening to this, you are a leader. You're a parent or a grandparent or your church, your synagogue, your mosque. You are a leader. And when you're with a group of people, even 2 stories are going to be critical. Even 1, right? So really important. You already have everything you need. Your stories are your power. Start telling them. Let's start communicating. I'm going to talk to you on Thursday a little bit about getting out there, because I get that question a lot. How do I get out there? And we're going to get into that a little bit to discuss, where do I put these stories? How do I get the word out? We're going to talk a little bit about that on Thursday. But today, what are we doing? We're building a story list. And look, I get it. It's not for everybody. This might go in your toolbox. But this is something you can teach to people in your organization. You can start to get people understanding the importance of story and why it works. It really makes a different story and allegory. Okay? So let's get out there and have a great start of the week. I love you bunches. And I'll be back with more right here tomorrow on MorningCoach.com. Get that morning routine started with some good energy. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow.